EDUC5199G, Teaching and Learning with Mobile Technologies. This is Group A3, and welcome to our podcast about augmented reality in education. Before we begin our presentation, we'll take this moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Tina. I live in Toronto, and I'm trying to avoid Pokemon Go players behind the wheel. I'm a journalist by trade and now teach aspiring producers and reporters. Next, I will throw it over to my colleague, Alyssa.
Hi, my name's Alisa. I'm a registered nurse in Brampton, Ontario. I work in labor and delivery, and I love delivering babies.
Thanks, Alyssa. Farishta, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I live in Toronto. I'm a Service Canada instructor, and half my office is playing Pokemon Go.
Jolene, over to you.
All right, well, I'm in Winnipeg, and so I'm the only non-Ontarian here. I'm a high school teacher. I taught it all from French, math, and everything, but my current assignment is history and English.
Terrific. Thanks, everybody. So augmented reality, we'll refer to it sometimes during this presentation as AR. You've heard lots about it these days, especially when referring to Pokemon Go. Alyssa will discuss the future of AR in education. Farishta will detail the potential issues of augmented reality in education. I'll share a few ideas about the current uses of AR, but we'll begin with Jolene with what exactly is augmented reality. Jolene.
All right, so augmented reality in its current form is where you have your actual reality, so what we see and perceive with our five senses, and then you have a digital layer of information on top of that. So that might be an image, like we see with Pokemon Go, we'll see the animations ahead of us. It might be other types of information like text, or even in a new car, you might have a windshield display that gives your speed, your temperature, that type of thing. So it's just the world we see with this digital layer on top of it.
So is AR just another word for virtual reality?
That's a really good question, because I always laced the two of them together for the longest time. I thought that augmented reality was just VR, but less so. But there's actually a kind of a gradient that's appearing. So virtual reality, that we'll have another group presenting on in our class, is where all of your senses are completely submersed in a digital artificial environment. And that's normally through the use of a headset. So it's covering your eyes, you have headphones. Some of them are starting to get handhelds as well, especially for gaming, but it's completely submersive. You're outside of the world we live in. You're done with us. You're tuning everything out. Augmented reality, what we're looking at is, like I mentioned, you still have the world with your five senses, but you have this extra layer. So a lot of it's done with smartphones because that's how we perceive that information. But it might even be the way we can use Snapchat filters on our phones, or even here in Google Hangouts to Air, there's some special features where you can actually add filters. And I'm going to save you guys putting the beard or the crown on my face, but you can actually play around with those. And the newest one, MR, or mixed reality, and that one was new to me. And there's some debate whether AR, augmented, and MR, mixed reality, are the same thing. But the key difference is that with mixed reality, you have an actual digital object that you can interact with. So see with Pokemon Go, where you have the world around you and then you see these objects on your screen in your phone, with a mixed reality you would actually be able to pick up that Pokeball and throw it at someone, and you're interacting with that digital layer instead of just seeing it.
And why do you think AR is becoming so popular? It can't be just about Pokemon Go.
No, I think Pokemon Go has been great for AR because now that people know that term, it's not just this weird, strange thing that gaming nerds talk about. We've all heard this now. But I think why it's exploded is now we all have smartphones. I think, and I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but I know Rob's mentioned in class, more people are accessing the internet on their mobile phones than on desktops and laptops now. And another thing I've perceived in teaching is a lot of my students, their younger siblings in late elementary school or middle school, they're getting their first smart devices, and their parents aren't buying these outright, they're hand-me-downs. So as your old Android device or iPhone gets old and you buy the new one, you have this device, what are you going to do with it? Well, you give it to your kid. And so now that we all have these tools, we all have a device that has a camera, location services, and a screen, it's just more accessible, and that's why it's exploding. It's not because the technology is that new. This has existed for a while, but now we can all access it inexpensively.
You're absolutely right. Thanks, Jolene. And as you said, while Pokemon Go has introduced AR into the common vernacular, its uses in future are certainly much greater. And if we look at specifically education, if you go to our website, you'll find a list of apps where you can try these AR apps in your own classroom. There are AR flashcards to teach young students about the alphabet. There are AR flashcards about shapes and colors if we're talking about young students. Elements 4D is another AR app to introduce students from elementary school to high school about chemistry. And Anatomy 4D, you'll see that picture on our website as well. It helps students learn about the human body and systems. Again, all of those links can be found on our website. And for anyone who thought augmented reality is only used in advertising campaigns and marketing strategies, yeah, that's not exactly the way it goes. Augmented reality, by the way, uses a few types of displays, and I think Jolene mentioned them as well, but I'm going to reiterate one more time. A mobile device, often a smartphone, the head-mounted display, as Jolene explained, and projected geographical displays onto fixed surfaces. We've seen this used specifically in med schools when they're learning about body parts and procedures. And if we look at medicine, medical schools use AR to not only have students practice surgical techniques, but doctors are using it to help patients understand those medical procedures. The military uses augmented reality, tourism, and we've certainly seen it in sports and entertainment television when you're watching a tennis match and they do the replay and you're watching the ball go down that line, whether it's in or out. That's augmented reality in television. I'm going to turn it over now to Alyssa, who will discuss the future of AR in education.
Okay, so AR is a technology that would allow educators to create an atmosphere for students that will combine digital information with the physical world. It can create an active learning experience as well as redefine learning spaces for students. Products like you mentioned, Tina, Elements 4D help students manipulate and combine content rather than just reading about them in a textbook. Technologies like AR will allow educators to combine education and entertainment. For example, we've been discussing Pokemon Go. It can be used as a meaningful educational tool as well that promotes data literacy skills. The data tracking aspect of this app helps students become familiar with data processing, manipulation, presentation, and analysis. It also helps them explore the natural world from its ability to connect users to the world around them, which helps students connect content like wildlife, species, and ecosystems. And it also helps inspire digital storytelling by fueling students' creativity and promoting language, research, and technology skills. Because the app allows users to snap photos of the creatures in front of them in a real-world setting, students can create and incorporate visual components that help them bring their stories to life.
Elisa, if you think about the future of AR in education, what do you think augmented reality is going to, what kind of impact is it going to have on student learning?
Well, AR is continuously stimulating students' minds. It gives them greater control over their learning while also allowing educators to electronically monitor how students explore the content. It allows them to manipulate and combine elements right from their mobile devices and enables them to discover unknown passions that will inspire their future endeavors. It allows them to focus on tasks and become more attentive to the lesson plans, which will help them to retain knowledge for a longer period of time and gain a better understanding of the content they're studying. It also will help them become creative with their learning and promote student engagement and collaboration. And those are the things that will make AR the future of education.
Terrific. Thank you, Alyssa. First, what we've heard so far makes it sound like an amazing opportunity for educators. But is there something we need to be worried about in terms of AR?
Yes, Tina, like you mentioned, as we heard from Jolene, yourself, and Alyssa, yes, AR is fun, it's interesting, and a lot of people are using it. However, there are a few potential issues that we need to consider. One of the first issues that I came across the discourse on this topic was the technological limitations. So I recently downloaded a few AR apps just to kind of check out what is this all about, because I've never really, other than Instagram, nothing really came across to me that would, I would use. Um, but it brought the reality of some of these technological problems that was mentioned in the discourse. For one, you are limited to using an AR accessory, an iPad, or a mobile device when you want to use these apps. The other issue was that the GPS, you needed to have a built-in GPS in your device and to have it on at all times. And the issue that I came across was that my GPS was, sometimes malfunctioning. Um, AR systems have to deal with a vast amount of information in reality. So therefore, the hardware used should be small, light, and easily portable, and fast enough to display the graphics. Also, the battery life used by these complicated AR devices is another limitation for AR use, because after trying out Pokemon Go for the first time a few days ago, my battery was completely drained after 2 hours. Also significant is having constant access to Wi-Fi and data. And I mean, yeah, my data was doing okay, but sometimes it would weaken a little bit, and then I wouldn't be able to, make full use of the app that I was on. Second issue that I came across was the training required for educators. I know that there are some, these AR apps are not a new phenomenon in the technology world, but it is something new when you're trying to implement it in an educational setting. So there's an important need for educators to get some training and some guidance in terms of the apps that they'll be using in the classroom. But the same goes for students. I feel like students also require that training and that guidance in order to make or use these apps to their fullest potential. Um, and then something that was quite, recent and a very hot topic is the issue that deals with the user and how is the user affected by these apps. So these issues involve privacy and safety issues as well as accessibility that I'm going to go into. As you may have heard on the news or on the radio, Pokemon Go has brought forth some of the issues related to AR apps. For one, these apps tend to divert the user's attention and they lack being cautious of their surroundings and sometimes wandering onto the roadways and increasing their chances of injury. Or like Tina mentioned, people driving and using these apps. Other issues include privacy concerns. With some of these apps specifically, because of the reliance on the GPS feature, these apps are location-based services, so all collect precise location information. Then there's the accessibility issue. The devices that are required nowadays, they're not cheap. They're quite expensive. The hardware that's required or the accessories that are required, they all come with a cost. You need to have upgraded software. You sometimes are required to buy some of these apps because the ones that I was like, oh my God, this is really interesting. Oh, wait a minute, it's $4.99. I don't know if I want to buy this if I'm not sure how, how well this works with what I need it for. Also, some of the information that I came across in the discourse on the potential issues with AR is the collaborative learning aspect of it. How collaborative can you really be when you're using these apps? Because sometimes you get so distracted or you get so consumed that you are not really interacting with the people around you. The next one would be obviously distraction in the classroom. This is where the educators need that training in order to make sure that the app that they want to use is used to its fullest potential and that these students are not distracted from the lesson plans or the learning objective.
Thank you, First. I think you mentioned so many amazing points there, but if we go back, you talked about some of the information being stored about your location. a lot of people have to be worried about privacy. Are they just being paranoid?
Good question. Yes, the past few weeks, the hot topic of discussion on TV, on the radio, and on social media has been the privacy concerns with Pokemon Go specifically. I mean, let's be honest, most of us don't read the privacy policies of these apps that we use. Indeed, reading all of them would take about 30 days per year, as one study had shown. So it's safe to assume that many players of Pokemon Go, which actually threatens to surpass Twitter's daily active users, aren't reading the fine print before logging on. But basically, for most apps, users hand over access to their phones, precise locations, storage, and cameras. The company behind the app can possibly reserve the rights to share this data it collects with third parties, including potential buyers and law enforcement. So in the case of Pokemon Go, for example, it helps to know what data the app can collect. So for Android users, the game can access both the precise and general locations of the devices as well as its camera, permissions inherently necessary to play the game. The game can also access users' USB storage, contacts, network connections, and more. And then for iPhone users, the game can access users' location, camera, and photos, and many iOS users log in through their Google account, which grants the app full access. This means, per Google, the app can see and modify nearly all information in your Google account, including Gmail, Google Drive, Google Maps, and more. So I should have read into this before I downloaded Pokemon Go. But yeah, although the developer has stated that this data will be used for business purposes, it becomes alarming when they have not been clear what their business model is, and as well as the fact that if the company is sold, all that data can go to another company. And aside from being sold, Niantic, which is the company, has the right to share non-identifying information with third parties for research purposes, demographic profiling, and other similar purposes, and including law enforcement. So I think it's important to know that users need to be more aware of the privacy invasions that can come with some of these apps, and accept fully knowing that they're willing to give others access to what's on their phone or on their device. So the privacy issue, I do believe it is important, but it really comes down to how the individual perceives it.
Absolutely. I think, like everything else, we have to really consider that privacy and, you know, read the fine print that most of us don't take the time to do. That's for sure. Thank you, everyone, for participating and watching our podcast on augmented reality for EDUC5199G. Please check out our website and participate in our feedback and let us know what you think about AR. Thanks for watching.